אבל אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי.
ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת, זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת, גדולי הפרשנים. אמריקה לא תכפה עלינו דבר.
India, China, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, all of them. Azerbaijan, Muslim countries. First time I visited Australia, tremendous. Far away though. So we're coloring the world blue. And you know what? The numbers, you remember people talked about Israel's isolation? Remember that? Israel's isolation? Pretty soon, the countries that don't have relations with us, they're going to be isolated. There are those who talk about boycotting Israel. We'll boycott them.
Kahallah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakach Radash. Double honors to the elder apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, for teaching his word in truth and sincerity. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad. And peace and salutations to the sincere Akim that's pushing his word in truth and sincerity. To you I say Shalom. This is another episode of When Esau Hates Esau. And these wicked people, Esau, Edom, the devil that the Bible speak of, are pushing their NWO. They're pushing their wicked doctrines. They're pushing total control over the people. And it's all spearheaded by Amalek, the head of the Esau nation, head of the Edomites. That is your small hats, starting with your top banking families, those wicked elites. This is Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. These are not the people of promise. These are not the children of the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, according to the promise. These are the people of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai on the left-hand side, according to wickedness and all their evil deeds that they perform on this planet. There's a scripture that says the planet is losing its youth, and that's because of these people. They have no goodness in them, man. They just pure wicked, and it's displayed across the planet. You know, we're watching them, pretty much go to war with each other. A house divided, a kingdom divided. They can't stand. If Satan cast out Satan, roughly paraphrasing, but these are not the people. And you're watching when Esau hates Esau. You're watching them go up against each other, and everybody's getting caught in the middle of it, And their whole goal is to control all the resources on the planet, control and dictate the people's movements, and and pretty much condemn and destroy the true biblical Israelites, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, including those Israelites scattered abroad throughout all these nations. Through our disobedience, we were scattered throughout all the nations. So their whole intent is to find who these people are, which they know who we are, and basically, try to the best of their ability to off us. And then in the process, enslave their own people, and enslave the other heathen nations by attacking, destroying, implanting themselves in their land, and stripping those people of their natural resources. This is verse 7. Actually, I read verse 1 again. Woe unto thee that decree unrighteous decrees, that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Verse 7. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doeth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. You know, their whole thing, man, is to rule the world. And you hear what BB is saying in the video that's played. This dude is wicked, man. You know, and these are not the people. You know, they crept out of them caves, you know, and pretty much gained rulership. It was all ordained by the Lord. You know, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. He ordained it. You know, they're supposed to be ruling at this moment. You know, he pretty much setting them up for the big takedown. So we're watching wickedness succeed on the planet. You know, we're watching wickedness at its highest pinnacle. This is Job 30:8. They are children of fools. Yeah, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. I'm going to read that in the NLT, same verse, Job 30:8. They are nameless fools, outcasts from society. You know, the Edomites are base men. They're the lowest on the totem pole as far as natural ability, you know, sauce, flavor. You know, they pretty much at the bottom. You know, they're just ruthless, vile creatures. You know, they were given the blessing of the sword, and that's how they rule. And they're doing a damn good job of it. You know, they rape, rob, murder, and commit atrocities all over the place, all over the planet. You know, at one point, you know, people actually revered them. Don't know why, you know what I'm saying, but people actually did, you know, heathen nations. But, you know, these are wicked people, man, whether it's a heathen nation or whether it's Esau. So I could see why they, you know, kind of held them up to a certain stature and things of that nature. Even the wickedness of our people did, you know. But to be an Edomite is to be like vermin, man. You know, you lower than vermin. And your time is coming. So you can rule the world at the moment with an iron fist. You know, you got that yoke of iron around everybody's neck, man. But the Lord said he's going to take you down, you know. And he's going to take you down with your own wicked devices. You know, we're moving closer and closer to WW3. And we're watching the downfall of the Edomites. And once World War, you know what I'm saying, once WW3 is kicked off and they implement that MOTB, the Lord is set to make his return. And what's going to happen is these Edomites and these heathen nations, they're going into captivity. Starting with Esau wicked ass, who like their top wicked elite and the remnant of Esau who survived that nuclear fallout and those laser blasts from the chariots. They're going into hardcore captivity, and they're gonna perform their tasks. You know, they're gonna receive unto them double. You know, so all the atrocities that they have done here, they're gonna receive it two times, twofold during their captivity, and then they're just gonna be you know, taken off of here. They're gonna be put to rest, and then the world won't have to deal with it, Edomite ever again. This is Psalms 73, verse 5. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Yeah, at the moment, this is their kingdom. They're ruling, you know. They was given this opportunity to rule. This is the second leg of that Roman Empire. So they have this time to rule. And damn, they're doing a hell of a job of it. You know, they're holding fast to their blessing, which was the sword. You know, if you look at the sword now, it's modern day weaponry. You know, back in ancient times, the modern day weaponry was a sword. You know, now it's automatic rifles, drones. You know, missiles, nuclear missiles. They have they use sound as a weapon. They use weather as a weapon. So, you know, they were given this as their blessing, you know, and they rule with this, you know what I'm saying, with this technology. You know, they rule with the modern day weaponry. And they're not in trouble because they run this thing, you know, paid for and funded by your top level elites, you know, top level wicked elite small hats, your top banking families, your Rothschilds, your DuPonts, your Gettys, the Wahlbergs, the Waltons. Then you go into the Tisches and the Bloombergs. They control all facets of top level Fortune 500 companies. You know, you got your top wicked bankers, then you got your top wicked Bloombergs, like they run media. The Tisches, they run the medical industry and things of that nature. So, you know, the Waltons, I believe they run food, the food industry. So you got these wicked, you got these top wicked elites, and they all small hats, you know, and they pushed their wicked agenda upon the people. So, you know, you got a lot of people that were, you know, sideswiped by that whole Epstein bullshit, but that's just part of their wickedness, man. You know, he's low level. They were doing, they've been doing that for, you know, for decades, centuries, you know. So while all that was being pushed in the media, they were running around, you know, setting up, you know what I'm saying, setting up this base, you know. They setting up these wars because that's how they make their money. That's how the Rothschilds make their money for centuries, off of wars, funding both sides of the war, of different wars. So it's not nothing new, man. This is all old, but they tend to, you know, sideswipe their people's attention with all sorts of nonsense, you know. And it's also, you know, a diversion tactic, you know, create bogus wars to take the minds off of certain things. You know, a lot of people didn't know they were out there committing those atrocities. So when it all came out, they throw this war at, you know what I'm saying? They throw this war up in the air. So now a lot of people, now those people who was focused on their extracurricular activities, which involves witchcraft, now people are, you know, focused on the war thing. But it's all part of their wicked devices, man. This is verse 6. Therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. They wear their pride, you know what I'm saying? They wear their violence, you know what I'm saying, as a badge of honor. They wear it as pride. It's like their garment, man. They were given the blessing of the sword, so they rule like that, and that's with violence, undaunting violence, you know, like violence that's like pretty much overwhelming. But that's their blessing. So they wear it with a badge of honor. Verse 7, their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than their heart could wish. Man, they run everything, you know? Even the low level small hats. They scam the system. So you talk about Jake scamming the system for, benefits and things of that nature. These people, they make money, but yet they scam the system so they can live scot-free, live tax-free and things of that nature, man. But yet they'll condemn anybody else that does it. But what's funny is this: when Esau hates Esau. So you watching Babylonian Edomites go against, small hat Edomites. And they all the same people, man. They the red man, you the same people. Unless, you part of that scattering of the true biblical Israelites, which we were scattered amongst all nations. So we will come looking like those heathen nations. But you could tell by the spirit who these people are, because they rule with violence. That's the only thing that they know is violence. They don't know how to be peaceful. They don't know how to be humble. They spread famine and disease everywhere they go. Famine and pestilence follow them, like the way Pigpen was in the Peanuts. You know what I'm saying? Charlie Brown, that little dirty motherfucker. Violence, famine, and pestilence follow them as dirt follow that dude. You know what I'm saying? Follow that character. It's almost like their shadow. So they make all the laws. So these people are not, they feel they're above the law because they create the laws. This is verse 7. Again, their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than a heart could wish. Verse 8, they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak lawfully. Yeah, man. So, they cry foul play, but all along they're committing the most atrocities. They are walking flagrant foul. You know what I'm saying? They are foul on the baseline every time, but yet they cry foul play when, things don't go their way, or it appears don't go their way, because they write the script. They control the narrative. But what we're watching them lose control of the narrative, because this internet, it exposed them good. It exposed everything about them, So everybody's starting to wake up to them. Even low-level Edomites are starting to wake up to their nonsense and their bullshit. This is this is First Esdras 4:37. Wine is wicked. The king is wicked. Women are wicked. All the children of men are wicked. Such and such are all their wicked works, and there is no truth in them. In their uprightness also they shall perish. There's not a decent bone in the Edomite's body. They commit all sorts of atrocities. They don't follow biblical law. Especially these wicked ass small hats, those imposters in the land. They claim to be the children of promise, man, but they ain't nothing but cold-blooded savages. And they claim that they're doing the Lord's work, but your works are wicked, man. You don't uphold the standards of biblical law. You uphold the law of man. This is Isaiah 10:7 in the NLT. But the king of Assyria will not understand that he is my tool. His mind does not work that way. His plan is simply to destroy, to cut down nation after nation. If this is not talking about these people, who is it talking about? You know what I'm saying? They talk about the Edomites are done away with. Hell no, they ain't done away with. According to scripture, if you just read the scripture with any type of comprehension, you see who these people are. This is Jeremiah 50:45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon his purposes, that he had purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. The least of the flock shall draw them out. That's these small hats, man. You know, their whole thing is to conquer the world. You know, and if they don't get their way, then they wage war on you. Where is that biblical? You know what I'm saying? When you don't get your way, you wage war on the people. The Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, when he sets the true biblical Israelites up in their land, he gives them the land. So, yeah, they go and they, you know, if it's ordained, if he, you know what I'm saying, if he ordains it, then you take out whoever's there. You know? But according to scripture, certain things are supposed to happen when you are in total rulership. So if you are the true biblical Israelites, which we know you're not, certain things are supposed to happen, man. It's not supposed to be no more wars, you know. Your children are supposed to be able to play with lions and bears, and you know, none of that's happening, man. If any of those silly ass small hats go try to pet a lion, that shit gonna tear his ass up. You know what I'm saying? And if there's not supposed to be any more wars, if you're in power, why are we in war at the moment? You know what I'm saying? Why you have so many different wars going on at one time? That's because that's how these slimy fucks eat, man. They make money off both sides of the war. They cripple societies through the money markets, you know. And then they go buy up everything, and you know, they wait for everything to go back up. That's how these slimy fucks move. This is Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that he have taken against Edom and his purposes, that he have purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. These are not the people, man. And the Lord going to destroy these people, man. You know what I'm saying? He going to take out 2/3 of our people for being just as wicked. You know what I'm saying? Abiding in their wickedness and not coming back to the true nature, you know what I'm saying, the true power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, coming back to the true word of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. You know, and these people, you know what I'm saying, like we gonna see the end of this kingdom, and we're gonna see the bringing forth of a righteous kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, ruled by Yahweh Shai and King David and the Lord's elect 144,000 and his remnant. You know, so it's all pretty much a waiting game now. So it's about just continue to do what you do, continue to study, continue to pray, continue to build your spirit, you know, and pretty much wait on the Lord. Wait on Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai and the angels, you know what I'm saying, to set everything back in its proper order. So with that, I'm going to say, Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachaha Radach, and the Bible Ball.